Hello, everyone. Well, this is a Mother's Day month, and we want to talk about self-compassion. We know mothers out there, they will do everything for everyone else except for themselves. So to talk about this topic, we truly have an angel because she has really devoted her life to community service, to uplifting women's health, women's mindset. So she is a mental health coach joining me live. Angel from Maryland. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for the invitation, Amita.
So I want us to talk about, and we were chatting a little bit earlier, like how women around the world, they forget about themselves, self-compassion. So do you want to talk a little bit why we forget about it and what happens? What are the ramifications from a clinical point of view as well?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It's such an important topic, particularly here in the States where we are acknowledging May as National Mental Health Awareness Month. And I just want to say, sort of piggyback on what you just said, that no matter where we're, dialing in from today, whether it be here in Maryland with me, where I am, the United States, India, Europe, UK, all around the world, one of the things that women absolutely have in common, despite ethnicity, age, is just the real difficult time managing so many things at one time, family, careers, businesses, whatnot, feelings of being overworked, overwhelmed, and stressed out. And what happens for me that I notice in my own life and in my own clinical practice is that awareness comes up when we experience the symptoms, the physical wake-up call that something is wrong, whether they're not sleeping well, whether it's weight gain, whether it's stress, headaches, migraines, you name it, those physical symptoms tend to get our attention right away. And at the very fundamental, bottom line level is just our bodies are messengers. We have chemical messengers in the body. We have biological, messengers that wake us up and say, hey, I want you to pay attention to me. I am not feeling well. I've got too much input, not enough output, or too much output and not enough input, either way you look at it, that gets our attention and lets us know that something is fundamentally not right here.
Okay, so you talk a lot about self-compassion, and we all know that we have to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what are the steps? How do we start doing that?
So I like to separate out self-care from self-compassion because a lot of times those two terms are used interchangeably. Self-care for me is the question about what do I need to do for myself, right? So is it that I need to take a day off from work? Is it that I need to engage in maybe some yoga practice or meditation practice? What do I need to do? But self-compassion is a little bit different. Self-compassion is how do I awaken to who I need to become? What do I need for my inner self? Apart from doing anything more, what shift do I need to make in my mindset, in my day-to-day routines to help me awaken what I call my own inner wisdom, my inner sage, my inner Sherpa, right? Self-compassion is about how we show up in the world in such a way that we exist in that part of the brain where we have that peace, that sense of calm, that sense of authenticity, creativity, our core essence. Self-compassion is about awakening our core essence. And how do we start that? We start with the very simple process that I just tune into every single day, and that's just setting aside time. There's nothing that you need to do. There's nowhere you need to be. If you have 24 hours in the day, it can start with 5 minutes of centering breath work, 5 minutes of centering and sitting and listening, because I believe that inner voice is always there. That inner part of ourself, that Sherpa, that sage, that wisdom self is always there. No matter where you go, you're always with you, right? And so I just start by, in my clinical work and coaching work, getting women into the practice of isolated time to themselves, for themselves, starting with just 5 minutes. just 5 minutes of quiet nervous system deactivation, nervous system calming, because that's really what you're doing, is you're training another side of your brain, that less active, that part of your brain that's less apt to want to do, and the part of the brain that is very comfortable with just being. So we're working on developing new neural pathways, new brain pathways through calming and centering at the increment of 5 minutes to begin with.
That's fascinating. And those 5 minutes, I try to meditate and I find it very hard, even though I come from a land of meditation. It's hard to sit. Someone tells me 5 minutes, don't do anything and just sit. Oh my God. So what kind of, okay, fine, be 5 minutes. What kind of practices can one do if someone's mind is always wandering, which most of us women have that problem?
One of the biggest myths about, that's such a great question. One of the biggest myths about meditation is that you have to sit down. You have to sit, you have to fold your legs, you have to hold your hands still. That is one of the most inaccurate descriptions of meditation from my perspective. There are many ways to meditate, but even still, what I'm referring to is gaining a sense of presence. So what I often engage women in is walking and moving meditation, moving mindfulness in motion. So most women, let's just say, if you have to walk the dog in the morning, how about walking the dog without your cell phone, your earbuds in, without music, without listening to the podcast, and just giving yourself the opportunity to be present, right? I don't believe in sort of like, trying to force people to learn meditation as much as I want you to see if you can be present with just yourself for 5 minutes, whether that be walking, whether that be doing Qigong practices, breath work practices, even if it's just sitting in a chair and breathing for 5 minutes without the interruption of outside stimulation. For me, that is the heart of self-compassion practice. Can I start practicing being comfortable with just myself, with just tuning into my own inner wisdom? And it can just start with listening to the breath, being present with the breath. It doesn't mean that you have to sit down on a chair, force yourself to cross your legs if you're uncomfortable. You don't have to do all of that. It can just begin with a 5-minute walk in the morning. It can mean being in your shower and listening to the sound of the water without all of these other outside influences. That's what I really recommend and even a journal practice. 5 minutes in the evening to do a thought download. Here's what happened today. Here's what went really well for me. And here's what I'd like to do better tomorrow. That is self-compassion practice. So it doesn't always mean meditation. It just means giving yourself the gift and the opportunity to be present in the moment with yourself.
I think it's beautiful. Too bad we only do it for 10 minutes. These sessions are very short.
Yeah.
We go on and on. But today's the nutshell is give yourself 5 minutes of yourself. Give yourself the gift of 5 minutes to yourself. Any last comments before I wrap up? Like it's a quick.
Yeah. Absolutely. Last comment is you're doing this for your brain. You're doing this for your body. You're doing this for your heart and for your spirit. And that alone is worth it. You are worth it. Be good to yourself because you are the only self that you have.
I think what an amazing way to start the Monday morning today. For me, it's Monday morning. Thank you so much, Angel, for being with us. Feel free to share your website or anything else you want to share. Then people can find you, or we can put it under the comments as well.
Absolutely. They can find me at angelvshannon.com.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Keep supporting us. We are coming out with programs soon, hopefully the month of Mother's Day and Father's Day. So stay tuned. Thank you.